Last time I left Hamburg and over 800 kilometers later rolled into Munich, where Vincent joined on his Z750 for the rest of the tour. We crossed Austria, hit the Italian border and ended the day in Cremona with pizza and some furry neighbours. From there it was pure Italy, coastal roads through Cinque Terre, sunsets in Lucca, and one slip where gravity won. Florence brought a well-earned break, art, rooftops and golden light from the Piazza Michelangelo, and then on to Siena through twisting Tuscan hills and hilltop towns like Volterra. Over 2,000 amazing kilometers covered so far, and more to come. Using Siena as our base camp allowed us to leave our camping gear behind and make a full day of it. Pure fun, full of twists and turns, and occasionally pausing to take in the views. For lunch we stopped in Massa Marittima, where we met another German. Vincent did most of the talking while I smiled and nodded. I understood bits and pieces, but I already felt the heat was getting to me, so yeah, brain didn't really want to try with the German right then. After wandering around town for a bit, we got chatting with a local shopkeeper trying to convince us to buy his egg liqueur. But sadly we could not have such delicate items in our luggage. I can only imagine the smell of our gear if it broke and it was cooking in the sun for some hours before we noticed it. It did taste good though. Soon though, we hit the road again. We ended the day by visiting a photo spot of Siena city before driving in and wandering a while. The sunset was poking through the tall buildings, leading to some tasty little photos. It was cool to see the city square. It is, or at least it used to be, a horse track. There were photos showing horses tearing it around the ring. I should have taken a photo of it. Mental stuff. We took it easy for a bit before finally making it back to camp. The next day we chased some of the most cinematic landscapes I've ever seen. If you've watched Gladiator, the scene of Maximus walking through the fields, that was filmed right here in this area. We even visited one of the filming spots later on. As a film enthusiast, it was a fun moment. It took us a while to get there though. As you already saw, the moment I started filming, we were already pulling in. We must have looked like bobbing chickens with our heads going back and forth from one side to another. I'm pretty sure we pissed off a few Italian drivers, but the views kept taking our attention away. We travelled only a few more minutes up the road before pulling in again. I was beginning to wonder would we complete the planned route for today at all, but I wasn't complaining. Speaking of Gladiator, this particular spot was used as an establishing shot in Gladiator. To me it is picture perfect, something you'd see straight out of a postcard. And again we found ourselves pulling over because a little further up the road was a literal scene from Gladiator. Naturally, we wanted some photos of the spot. Next time I'm watching the movies with a friend, I can be that annoying guy to point and say, I was there. The day carried on forward and we found the natural hot springs of Temme San Filippo bubbling out of the rocks. No time for a dip as we were behind schedule, having stopped already so often. To make sure we made it, we had to cut the route short anyway, but we had enough time to wander a bit. I briefly mentioned before, but we were convinced that speed limits were suggestions and not actual rules in Italy. At times we tried to keep up with traffic, and even then we had vans and small cars trying their hardest to tear past us. You could hear the engine screaming for mercy. I didn't record too much for the rest of the day. This is also a holiday for me and filming was not always on my mind. But regardless, we made it back to camp and performed our usual routine without incident and set our sights for tomorrow. We left Siena and had a new campsite in our sights up a mountain called Camping La Futa. Getting there was pure rider's heaven. Nearing the end of our trip, we fully embraced the curves, mountains and clear skies. La Futa would be our last camping spot for the tour, as a gap stop before we made it to the B&B we had arranged for the following day. We had noticed that the weather in the coming days would start to turn for the worst, so we made the most of the day with the skies here, meeting fellow riders along the way. I had wondered why we had not met more along the trip, then remembering, yes, I am the one on holidays, and now it's the weekend. Good for them. Here I was a little paranoid. I thought I had heard the chain slapping off the rear swing arm a few times as we were bounding around the twists and turns. Vincent captured me at the right moment. Thanks, man. But it was just my imagination. Having covered almost 3,000 kilometers by this point, my thoughts were not totally unreasonable, but it was all good. It must have just been stones or whatever underneath the bike as we're bounding around. We found a nice spot at the end of the road for a late lunch and a quick look at how well we were rounding off the tyres. The day ended with a visit to Mugello Circuit, the home of MotoGP in Italy. We got a track day in action, riders tearing around the gaff, a bit quicker than what we were doing on the main roads. Sadly, one crash ended the fun for the day, a reminder of the risks we all take on two wheels and why you go ham on a track where they have medical staff on hand rather than on the road. I did have a chance to capture a few images. I love the panning photos from Jamie Price, a race car photographer. He makes the images look like they are moving. I tried my hand at this style of work and I have to admit I have a bit of learning to go. Still, some interesting images came out. We finally made our way back to camp, which was only over the road. Lovely views over the valley as the sun set behind the mountain, a quick bite to eat and a drink before finally bed. By now we were starting to feel the effects of being on the road for so long. The aches and pains had sunk in a little sooner and we found ourselves getting tired sooner rather than later. The weather was now starting to take a turn as well. We could often see on the other side of the valley dark clouds peaking above, threatening to ruin a good time. Still, we found our B&B early and we were able to leave most of our heavy gear there for the day despite not being able to check in earlier. This meant we could enjoy what the rest of the day had in store for us with lighter and more nimble bikes. Perfect for the road ahead. quick stop for a spot of lunching. The food was all fine, nothing to write home about, but I wasn't complaining either. I did have to take a quick snap of the toilet though. I had never seen this type of toilet in person. This kind of one's for squatting over. Only ever saw them in the school books. I found it quite amusing. Just me? We headed off again, and I will leave you for a moment to enjoy some more of these beautiful roads. Going downhill was always slower for me. Too many blind corners, and you can even hear me beeping all the time. Maybe it was a mixture of tiredness kicking in and the road seeming to get narrower and narrower, and the quality of the road condition was also fast deteriorating for some reason. So I ended up taking my time here a little bit more. I think the distortion of the camera makes it look like I'm going much quicker, but no. One thing I really enjoy about these kind of roads though is that you get to really practice your cornering abilities, really lean into the technical aspects of the bike. For me, it's not just about going fast all the time, it's these kind of slow moments, being able to bend the bike literally around the corner and take it without having to necessarily drag the knee, but really kind of smooth corner, smooth throttle, everything. As we crested the mountain and began our descent, the skies cleared up and the sun shone through. It definitely encouraged some more spirited riding. At the bottom of this beautiful road, we made a stop to grab coffee and a bun, stretch the legs and take a minute before we went right back into it. After spinning around for the day, we made it back to our B&B. As you can see, it was an old stone building dating back to 1690 roughly. A steep road led down to it, partially unpaved, and wanting to avoid any unnecessary bike drops, we opted to park at the entrance instead. Creaky floors and no soundproofing, you could hear everyone and you're almost afraid to make a sound yourself. We ended the night with dinner in the village. We found a grand spot and drank some local beers before returning to the comfort of a mattress rather than sleeping in a bag. On the morning of day 12, the rain finally caught us. We woke to sunshine, but we both watched as the rain clouds poured in. We kept a close eye on the forecast. The weather was not going to let up for the rest of our stay, and so we agreed to cut the trip short. Home was calling. We worked out that we could make it to Vincent's before midnight if we left by 2, and we might just avoid some of the rain clouds. We got that wrong. We powered north, drenched, but determined. Filming was not a priority for me, rather focusing on not floodplaining across the soaked motorway, so I only have a few photos from Vincent to fill the gap here. We got one final pizza before the last stretch to Munich, finally reaching Vincent's place, closer to 1 AM rather than 12. I was shattered. Vincent offered me to stay another day, but I wanted to still push on the next morning and get home. Another 800 kilometers of Autobahn later, I was back in Hamburg, home at last. The trip was special. It was the longest and furthest I'd ever done on two wheels, over 4,000 kilometers, from North Germany to the middle of Italy and back again. I was faced with some unexpected challenges, like hurting my wrists right at the beginning of the tour, and some poorly timed weather to end it all, but it was all worth it. Tuscany gave us some of the best twisties I've ever had, some beautiful towns and cities and postcard landscapes, and of course, great food. I discovered burrata and that sometimes you just need a little bit of olive oil on some good bread. More than that, he gave me lessons about packing light, where my limits are, how I can work past them, and how having a good friend with you can make all the difference when the road gets tough. Thanks Italy for every twist, turn and pizza along the way, and thanks Vincent for sticking it out with me. I'm excited for the next one.